Yep.
All right, Friday. Let's say hi to Heather. She'll be first today in Iowa. Heather,
Friday.
what's going on, Heather?
Guys.
Hey.
How you doing?
Pretty good.
Hey, I was on Humble and Fred's page, and I saw that they're saying that we're attacking them again, instructed by you guys.
What?
Well, we've never, well, I don't know if I could say never, but we certainly did not tell people to attack Humble and Fred's Facebook page. Our listeners just understand at this point what we might want.
They just do what they do, and it's amazingly funny and, very creative.
They're pretentious douchebags, and they have nothing better to do.
Well, they kind of, out of nowhere, sort of attacked our radio show. So, they hit us with a little pea shooter, and we always hit back with, like, nuclear warheads.
Right.
It's always been our thing.
That's how you win.
Yeah.
Sometimes people will take an innocent shot at us, and then we just completely go over the top.
We're not getting bogged down in a Vietnam-like conflict.
We just burn out their entire village.
Right. Scorched earth policy.
Shock and awe.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
And they might have hit us with a BB in the ass cheek.
Yeah.
It was a little uncalled for, though. Like, they could have said, like, hey, that's not for us. But they did kind of go out of their way to go, it's not a funny show.
Exactly.
We're funny. And then they kind of were saying, like, hey, you got to do this on stage. And it's like, when you say that, you really are putting yourself.
You're opening yourself
You're opening yourself up in a way that's unnecessary because this show had never said anything bad about them.
And the listeners find it fun to do. They love going on Facebook pages and posting their hilarious Photoshops and whatnot. So, and what are you going to do?
We do laugh.
We laugh. Sure.
Cat Williams says it best. If you ain't got 5 haters by the end of the day, you better try harder.
Come up with a longer quote next time.
I can't get that on a T-shirt. What the fuck?
It's like Harry Chapin once said, the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon. The little boy blew in the man in the moon. When you coming? I heard you.
That'd be a lot of writing for a T-shirt.
Yeah. Bumper sticker.
All right, Heather. Thank you.
Driver,
Sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
Oh.
I think she was a female truck driver.
Like, oh, thanks. Right now she's looking at her phone, like all pissed.
What a coincidence. E-Rock just handed me some Humble and Fred audio. Humble and Fred were addressing the situation.
But they were. They finally got on the air and talked about it.
Talked about the Facebook page getting destroyed and
good for them.
Talking about us, talking about them, and trying to explain their original comment about us.
Can't wait to hear it.
Want to hear some of this?
I certainly do.
Humble and Fred explained their O&A story, and it was 13 years old.
What?
That little shot they took at us, they failed to mention that it was something they heard 13 years ago.
Are you kidding me?
Wait, what?
You know that little shot they took at us?
Said they heard the show and it wasn't funny?
Funny, but they're fun. Or the PD said, but they're fun. I guess that was from 13 years ago.
Oh, my God.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I think they said it recently.
Yeah. But they said it recently, but they were talking about when they were listening 13 years ago.
If they would have said it's something they heard 13 years ago, then we probably would have just said, fuck it. Because, we know what we sounded like with the bra bombing thing and everything.
Whatever.
We had our douchey moments, trust me.
Well, 13
we'll
years
be the
ago,
first to admit it.
No, that was NEW.
That wasn't
NEW,
all right, then fuck them.
That was the Big Apple, if I would.
That's right.
Okay, we had Arthur Simeon.
All right, yeah.
And Aisha Alpha, a couple of our friends who are stand-up comics, and we were talking about stand-up comedy versus radio. And I was saying, that a lot of typical radio shows, when you hear them, like the bunch of people in a morning zoo setting, someone will say something, and everyone breaks into laughter as though it was actually funny. And we were talking about it as a stand-up comedy exercise, and I was basically saying if you could lift the words from what was said and put it on a stage that night, it probably wouldn't get the same reaction. And this was a discussion with comedians about stand-up comedy. And then in that conversation, we mentioned a story about going to New York with our bosses.
In 2001. It was 2001.
So it's a 13-year-old story.
Yeah.
And it was really more about...
That's old.
Holy shit.
But that wasn't phrased that way. Nobody knew that.
No, of course not. Of course not. And I do agree with them so far. A lot of morning zoos especially. Maybe we're guilty of it here from time to time, I think
you're in a good mood.
I think it's rare though,
more than you might.
Right, but morning zoos are absolutely guilty of doing that, where they all just go, "I think it's time to laugh," and they just all start laughing. Right. So I understand that point, but that's not us.
It was really more about us having to go with these two guys we worked with. We basically got a free trip to go listen to New York radio because that was before you could just sit in your computer
and stream it.
Stream it. So we were being consulted to death at the time, and you and I talked about on the show recently about having to sit down and listen to a bunch of New York shows, including Opie and Anthony.
Right. And we sat in a hotel room, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning. We got up, we had to, first of all, hammered. That was
God, we're really famous, man. Guys are flying in from Canada to listen to our show in a hotel room to maybe pick up some pointers.
They're sampling the show.
Did we ever have to do that?
No.
Oh my God.
However, it's a suggestion that I wouldn't frown on. But you know what though?
That is so weird that there's consultants that actually do that for radio shows.
No wonder they didn't like it though. Can you imagine if a consultant had to fly somewhere and listen? All you do is motherfuck the show.
Yeah,
and go like,
listen to these guys. Listen to them.
Tell us to listen to this. Yeah, I kind of don't blame them.
Because they probably feel like they're doing,
their thing. Yeah,
they're doing fine on their own. Why would they have to listen to us in a hotel room of all places?
They want to go out and see New York and hang out and fucking see the sights. They're like, no. Sit here. Their show is starting.
Us fucking hassling a guy that's whistling. Jesus.
First of all, hammered. That was the same trip, by the way, where I threw up outside of the cab. If you're connecting those dots.
So the point is, we're listening to this, and again, it was just a one-off, but again, we had sort of came to the conclusion after listening to that episode, we really didn't find it that funny. Remember that episode? There was a girl laying on a couch, pleasuring herself with a dildo or something. And that was sort of the focus of the...
you know what? I got to go back to saying these guys are idiots.
Great.
I'm trying to have an open mind
What did you just say? I didn't hear it.
But
describe the bit that they were listening to.
Not everything we did was supposed to be funny, you idiots.
That's a girl on a couch. That's a girl on a couch pleasuring herself with a dildo.
This was before you could find anything like that on the internet.
Yeah.
So on the radio, if you have a girl completely naked pleasuring herself on the couch with a dildo, that's great radio for that day.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be funny. Maybe we throw a couple funny lines in, but we're all thinking, "Oh my God, this is titillating for our listeners."
Yeah, there was something really fun about a girl pleasuring. It's hard to knock a girl pleasuring herself with a dildo.
Yeah. But they're confused. They're like, "It wasn't funny." Well, okay. This show's not supposed to be funny all the time.
But I'm sure we were probably having a good time.
Yeah, of course.
And laughing and having a good time.
A boys' club,
right?
With a dildo or something. And that was sort of the focus of that segment. And it was like, oh, okay. Well, number one, we won't be able to do that on our show.
Right.
And number two, as I listen to this, it's really not that funny. That's all.
And so when we were listening to that show and a bunch of other shows, Scott Shannon and Stern, when that particular discussion took place, we said, well, that was interesting. It was we thought it was pretty cool. And again, we would never be able to do it.
We couldn't do that, so.
But we said, but the idea is, okay, it wasn't that funny. And our boss's line, and this is what we quoted the other day, is, oh, it wasn't funny, it was fun. And so we used to mock each other and him behind his back saying, well, because we would do something and we'd say, well, that wasn't funny, but it was
kind of funny, though.
I find this so weird, though.
Wait, what would they do?
I think that's funny because, your PD says something stupid like that.
Right.
And then you kind of pick up and go behind his back and go,
of course.
Oh, that wasn't funny, but it was fun. Like they kind of.
But there was nothing wrong with that day being fun and not funny. We were going for,
I'm kind of liking their explanation more than I was liking their original.
Sure.
Thing.
They're strangely polite.
They're very polite, aren't they? We were in New York listening to the Opie and Anthony show.
But
very nice.
I really do, to this day, love studying this business because I find that really strange.
Yeah.
That they went completely out of their way. A consultant said, you have to go to New York and listen to New York radio and we'll set you up in a hotel.
That is weird.
So what? They're sitting around and just going from morning show to morning show?
Yeah.
It was 13 years ago. That means they had to stay in the afternoon, too.
Right.
That means they probably wanted to go out in the afternoon. All right, we've heard the morning shows. Can we go out and have some fun? And they're like, no, wait till you hear these guys.
They weren't staying at the Trade Center Marriott. It's 2001.
Oh, I understood.
Plane crashes into them.
What happened?
I don't know. Something. Read it.
But we had cassettes back then. Why wouldn't somebody just tape our show and Stern and Shannon, whoever else they listened to that day?
Yeah, and then send it to them.
And just send all the cassettes to them.
It's a lot cheaper.
But to have them fly in, that is really bizarre.
Someone wanted a free trip to New York, whether it was them or the consultant. The consultant might have said, I'll go with you.
Right. Well,
we got to go.
First class,
Sample it live right there.
Listen.
Right,
So, Humble and Fred are flattered O&A, that's us, of course, dissected their show.
So we brought this up on the show while we were talking to these comics, I guess it was a month ago now.
Right. So, and, because we're on Sirius XM, and, the power of Humble and Fred is growing every day, apparently one of their listeners heard us, that segment, recorded it, sent it to Opie and Anthony, and then yesterday morning on their show, they spent 35 minutes talking about the little Humble and Fred show.
Yeah, we'll do that.
I love when these guys say that, the little, if it's interesting, it's interesting.
We'll do that sometimes.
Yeah, right.
That's actually less time than normal.
We've spent a lot of time talking about other shows.
And we have to fill up a lot more radio time than most, I would say, most shows.
Right, because of the lack of commercials.
Lack of commercials, lack of music, lack of weather, lack of traffic, all that filler crap.
Yeah.
I love when they do that. Our little show, it was entertaining as all hell to us. I mean, we'll move on from Humble and Fred, and I swear to you, within a couple days, I'll forget we even talked about him.
But the reality is we don't look at it like that. It's like if a show says something insulting. It's like if you're out, right? If you're out with your chicken, you're in a movie theater.
Chicken.
And if you're out with your chicken, yes, and you're in Germany and you're going to fuck your chicken. But if you're out with it and someone insults you, you respond somehow. And if they're little, it doesn't mean that you go, well, I won't respond to the insult because he's a small guy. He said something.
Right.
I'm more likely to respond.
Yes, of course.
That's the threat.
Exactly. If he's 6'8" and he's got his basketball team friends with him, I'll pretend I didn't hear it and let them pinch my girlfriend's tits.
Little Humble and Fred show.
Which, I got to be honest with you, I was pretty flattered by it.
So was I. I thought it was great.
When I saw your note, and because I agreed, you sent me a note in the afternoon saying they just mentioned us like 100 times. And I was 100 times. I was going, that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, really, it can't hurt because you know what radio's often like. Somebody hear Humble and Fred like 100 times, and then an hour later they might remember Humble and Fred, but they might not remember exactly what the conversation was about. But anyway, these guys took 35 minutes and they played a segment of our show.
Quite a few segments, actually.
And dissected it as they went along, pointing out that who are we to claim that they aren't funny 13 years ago when we aren't funny either. And, the show was sort of taken out of context. And to be honest, the segments they played, the way they played them, there wasn't a lot of side-splitting funny.
But it was fun.
I love this stuff, man.
Oh, boy.
Take it out of context. Not really. We just took one show.
That was it.
Right?
Yeah. 1 hour of one show.
1 hour of one show. We didn't we didn't really pick and choose. It was very easy. Just take 1 hour and I
love when you have to say that. It's nothing, it's not side splitting funny. I love that he had to say that.
They're so nice, though.
I know. What are you going to do?
Side splitting funny because this show is more a conversation and funny things come up as you go along.
But again, the point we were making was about an incident 13 years ago. And in fact, if you listen to the thing I said, it was basically us in 2001 having to go to the city to listen to a bunch of radio shows. And that particular day, and I'm going to be honest, since that time until yesterday, I honestly haven't heard them.
No. Because, part of the point yesterday during their analysis and critique of the Humble and Fred show is that we've been fired and moved around a lot, which is false. But then again, you read their
hold on. I read something. I was reading, but I wasn't even shitting on them. I was just saying when I said that they had been. I was just trying to give out information, which I did get from Wikipedia. So.
We were trying to learn about them because I swear to you, I've never heard the names before in my life, and like I told you, I love studying this stuff to a point. So,
but then again, you read their Wikipedia
entry or whatever
it is. And boy, they've been through a lot more than we have.
We sure have. Humble and Fred. We sure have.
Humble and Fred.
That humble thing annoys me.
Why?
I don't like it because it's a word. It's not a name.
Yes. You want to keep going? I got more audio.
Let her rip.
All right.
To be fair, when I was talking about radio people in general not translating to stage, it wasn't about them.
No.
Because they have a guy in their show who's one...
But you didn't
yeah, thank you.
Hold on, he's about to make a good point. Why do you interrupt Humble and Fred without making some valid points?
Well, we got some time restraints, so I'm going to fast forward right now.
Sure, no, fast forward. It's out of context.
Okay, all right.
And,
they have a guy in their show
named Sam Roberts, and he's terrific. That would be hurtful.
Really are stupid.
They have a guy in their show who's one of my favorite stand-ups. In fact, I probably should have mentioned I've read his book. Jim Norton's a great comedian.
Magnificent bastard.
I've always found him funny. That day in New York City, we were listening to Opie and Anthony, and sure, we were jealous of the fact they had a girl basically pleasuring herself through the show, but our reaction to our bosses was basically, we can't do that, and... You know, so what's the point of this?
What are we supposed to take away from this?
What are we supposed to take away from this?
Sure.
And the line was, well, it wasn't funny, the girl, playing with herself, which we liked, but it was fun. And this was our boss's instructions, too, for what we could do to improve
I do
our
like
show.
that. That's
and
funny.
to a couple of little Canadian goofs, that was pretty shocking what was going on that show that day.
You're a guy. It wasn't
and
shocking.
When you figure what it was, very risque, pushing the envelope, on the edge, and all those things.
So weird.
Unfortunately, with it, there wasn't anything really funny going on. There wasn't. There might have been fun to some people, but
I'm kind of liking these guys now.
Yeah,
because they come across as nice.
They're nice. They're just analyzing this very openly and how they feel about it. I don't know.
But back then, our show revolves around trying to be funny way more now.
Yeah.
Than we did back then, because back then we were allowed to do some crazy ass shit.
Yeah, we tried to do a lot of that shocking stuff too.
It was part of our repertoire.
Get a little news, get people talking. That's what the whole thing was about.
I don't know why they keep focusing on the fact that wasn't funny.
But it was fun.
But it wasn't supposed to be funny.
Well, they're trying to address the comments they made yesterday, which had their Facebook page besieged with black dick photos. So they probably figured they should address that one particular part of the comment.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
To her, at least.
It just wasn't a funny segment, that's all. We have lots of segments on this show that aren't funny, and I'm sure Opie and Anthony, they do 3 or 4 hours every day. I'm sure there's a lot of segments that, you attempt or you try or you work an angle and it's not really funny.
Oh, we're always funny.
But, or you tell a story about your kids or an experience or friends or commuting or whatever.
Can you pause? That's really incorrect. We never. The name of this show should be Home Run After Home Run in the morning.
Right. And
we're leading the league in batting. You understand that, Humble?
That's right.
Fred.
We're batting 106.
You know what he's doing though? He's contradicting what he said.
Of course.
The other day, which is like the laughter. Are you taking what you do on the show? If you translate it to a stand-up stage, would people still be laughing? Wasn't that his point?
I think they're trying to back out of this because
are they trying?
I think they're a little scared of our listeners.
I would be.
I think they're being.
Are they backing out?
I think they're being a bit humble.
Oh, and Fred,
and I believe they're trying to just nicely back out of the situation.
Yeah,
I think that's what's going on here.
So this is how it started. That conversation with some stand-up comedians about radio. Again, not about them. Because I'm sure there are wildly funny moments on their program.
There's
just like there are sometimes on this one.
They can't pat themselves on their back. Well, now they finally addressed the Facebook situation, which officially we had nothing to do with.
Well, the listeners have their fun. That's their fun.
I think they admit that here. Yeah. I think.
This is how it started. And I will say this. Yes, there were some horrible and awful images. Some shocked the film man. What was the one that you didn't like?
Aborted fetuses.
Aborted fetuses on our Facebook page. And I'm going to
Hey, I got to tell Humble and Fred they're being very funny right now.
The listeners are brutal, man. They're fucking brutal. Sometimes I scroll down what they've done to people's Facebook page, and I have the same reaction. Like, I can't even look at that.
Right.
It's disgusting.
There were things the listeners do sometimes, like whether it's on Twitter, like when you fuck with someone on Twitter.
Yeah.
They post some really funny shit.
Yeah.
Really funny shit.
Yep.
I've said it, man.
So inappropriate.
Our listeners, there's a lot of funny fuckers out there. A lot of them are really funny.
Aborted fetus. Jesus. You sick fucks.
On our Facebook page, and I'm going to say this, both Fred and I saw very many things that we did laugh at. There has been some funny stuff that the Opie and Anthony people have put up. Now, there's been some vile and horrible stuff. And listen, we're running a little business here, so we're going to try, obviously, to keep our Facebook page
That's
up.
hilarious.
But I heard yesterday from a lot of radio people in Toronto, hey, what's going on with you guys at Opie and Anthony? And I was like, wow. Like, in a strange twist, just like the Blundell thing. We had more activity on our Facebook page yesterday than we've had ever, really. Yes, I know a lot of it was horrible.
Honestly,
No, some of it was awful towards you.
Yeah.
No, it really was. And, and that, again, that didn't come from Opie and Anthony. It came from their fan base.
Well, the terminology and some of the intention came from them.
Oh,
there you go. See the whole. See.
However, she's not wrong.
Yeah.
Can't sue her for slander.
The intention came from them.
Oh no, I know. And the thing is,
their fan base.
It was pointed out to us that they did not instruct their listeners to go to our Facebook page, and they claim that they didn't tell their listeners to go to our Facebook and do whatever you call that. What do you call that? Pesting it or
Troll.
something? Yeah.
Well, they call themselves pests.
Mm-hmm. But they did, if you listen to the segment where they talked about us for 35 minutes, which was great, they kept referring to our Facebook page and what was going on our Facebook page. So they weren't saying, go there and do this, but by mentioning it, I think people were getting
you're
the
on
message
to us.
that, maybe I'll go and do that. You know what I mean? So It was sort of a subliminal thing.
Subliminal. Oh, this is so fucking funny.
Oh, it's just the politeness that they have.
I don't know their show from a hole in the wall as far as what they do. All I've heard is what was given to us when we played it here on the air. But as just kind of people, I don't know. I think they're kind of regular guys.
Yeah,
I kind of like them.
They're just nice.
It's funny because they're like them reacting to this.
Right.
They're not being holier than thou. They're not fucking being so offended. I mean, they're like, yeah, it's kind of funny. Some of it's really awful. It's the same thing I think when I look at what the fucking listeners do.
I think most radio stations that we hit on October, they're laughing at a lot of those posts.
I think so, too.
Because they're so over the top and so ridiculous.
They're spelling everything out pretty accurately. I mean,
But the politeness as they, try to explain a horrific situation is just making me fucking giggle.
Very, very nice.
Yeah, and it's funny. I don't think their audience understands that we get how much more successful they have been than we ever have been. We get them.
If they came up here and saw this and what we are, they'd laugh. They'd think we spent 35 minutes on that.
And I said that to Fred when I drove up here today.
That's funny.
And we tried to sort of set the scene a little bit for you Americans listening to us. If you could see what a mom and pop operation it really is, if you people who sent that stuff on our Facebook could see just how sort of again, mom and pop this really is, how we built this ourselves, how it's just us in this little industrial mall.
Oh, my God.
That's funny, man.
You'd probably be jealous about the size of their studio.
Yeah, exactly.
No kidding. I guarantee they have a bigger studio than this shithole.
The people, listen, whoever you are, whether it's in Texas or New York State or somewhere in America, and you wanted Eileen's fetus to die in an AIDS fire or whatever, whatever that was, which was, some of it was pretty funny. I actually want to send you a note and say, I don't think they really want your baby to get AIDS in your womb. But,
And, some of it was actually in good spirit. They were taking little shots, but in a fun, cute little way. I think the way our listeners would.
Absolutely.
But
there
some
was
of that
funny stuff.
But some of that vile, horrible stuff I don't think probably Opie and Anthony saw it, because I know what we would do if those were our listeners. We'd say, please don't do that, because
on our behalf.
On our behalf, because it's over the line.
You're
It's
better people than we are.
taste. We really don't want to be associated with that.
Exactly.
No, I would hope they would take that position as well, because that stuff just isn't funny.
But some of this now, we've hidden some of the stuff. Now, honestly, we've hidden it because we don't want to. We're lazy.
Yeah.
We don't want to go through the bother of having to redo our Facebook page. Honestly, it's just us. We don't have a management team, and we don't work at SiriusXM headquarters. But some of the stuff we just can't have on. But this one made me laugh. It's from a guy named Josh Hoskinson. He's got a picture of these two people in a park, and it says, "A day in the park can be fun until you see bums finger banging."
Oh.
Now, we could never put that up on our page. But, some
we
stuff...
could, but we wouldn't.
We would. Some of the stuff is
Did
pretty...
you see the one about the kid asking us to wish him luck on his French exam?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that was fun.
Oh,
What's that one?
Well, fags comes up a lot. We're called fags a lot.
Yeah, fags and faggots comes up a lot.
And there's a lot of racism. There's another picture that came in this morning of guys having anal sex. And
Well, hold on a second. They're describing the pre-show meetings we have.
Oh my God.
I'll tell you one thing.
So funny.
The fact that they can say this on Canadian radio, they have more freedom than we do here in America.
Hey.
But they're just using honest language and talking, and imagine doing that in New York.
In context, what they saw.
That's very funny what they're describing.
It's really funny.
Facts and faggots and a lot of racism.
A lot of racism. I've seen some of those racist posts. They're a hoot.
Yeah, like the black guy. It's just inappropriate. The black guy with the cat shirt. And
And then there's a cat with a shirt on, and
it's not very nice what it says.
Or the guy with the hose and the little African American child on the lawn. Oh, Beretta.
The fucking what is it called? Those little photos. That's not a meme, is it?
A meme.
Does a meme move or no?
Sometimes.
Some of those things make me laugh so hard.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so vicious.
So bad. I agree wholeheartedly with them. Some of it is just vile, despicable stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Picture came in this morning of guys having anal sex, and I think you're supposed to be one, and I'm supposed to be the other. There was one funny one yesterday, though. A guy was sort of like a fat guy, sort of had his arms around his legs, and it had the caption, "This is Fred trying to blow himself." Or something. It was pretty funny.
It was good. This is a guy who says, "Good morning, Humble and Fred. I have a French exam in 2 hours, and I'd like you two fags to wish me good luck. Thanks."
And then the racist stuff. Somebody sends a picture. It's a picture of a turd, like a human turd, with Obama's face at the top of it. It's like, what's the point of sending us that?
What's the point of sending us that? Now this is funny. Oh God, I love their delivery of this stuff.
Yeah, and I love that they can say this stuff. That they're actually saying anal sex, and
they got the balls to just say it.
I don't know, man. These guys are turning me the fuck around.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're turning me around with this. Well, I don't know what they do on a daily basis, but the way they're handling this situation and going on the air and talking about, they're turning me around. It's really funny.
And to be fair, there were a couple of people. Eileen went back and forth with a couple people that rationally and articulately were articulate in making their point that we weren't funny. Excuse me, and that's fair. Like, there were lots of great comments, people saying, "Listen, I listened to your show, and I thought it was not." In fact, I think one guy said it was horrible.
Yeah, you know what? And again, they're going by very small.
But that's fine.
But that's fine. That's what we did.
Yeah.
But I thought you know what? That was great too. So on the one side, there was a bunch of guys saying a lot of N-words and faggots and things. And then there was a few people that went, okay, listen, to be fair to you guys, I heard your show. I found it awful, and you should shut it down. And we've heard that before too.
Oh yeah, that's nothing new.
Oh yeah.
I made the point yesterday that I'm one of those people that wasn't into Breaking Bad, so that just there's people totally in love with that show, and then somebody like me, I started watching and it wasn't for me. So that's what makes the world go round.
It's not funny, but it's a fun show.
Right. Exactly.
Breaking Bad.
You should know that.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
That's making me laugh.
This is entertaining.
That is really fucking... It's his... You know what it is? It's his logical, reasonable...
matter of fact...
assessment, of complete moronic, vile behavior by our listeners. But he's talking about it the same way you talk about a congressional hearing. It's really entertaining. He's not upset. He's not underplaying it, though. It's a very measured tone he's using, and that makes it a lot funnier. I don't know. And the fact that, they're probably just broadcasting from what amounts to a podcast studio, and, just up there in Canada trying to do a goddamn show, and these despicable listeners start posting racist, fetus, progeria kids.
Oh, your baby dies
Hitler.
in AIDS fire.
AIDS fire.
Wow.
I don't even know what an AIDS fire is.
It doesn't exist.
No.
One more clip from these guys.
It gave them 35 minutes of content. So, again, at the end of that, I'm thinking, boy, they're that hard up for content.
No, I hate when shows do that. No, we're not. We pick and choose, and this was
topical, as we were talking about.
No,
you were talking about it. We've done it in the past before. It's not like we're grabbing at straws trying to find something to talk about when we talk about other shows.
Right.
It's
not that we're hard up. We have plenty of stuff to talk about. We just felt like this would be a really good, fun, vile thing to do.
You could find 30 other instances of us talking about other shows when the subject comes up. It's just...
And a lot of them will say that. They ran out of content or whatever.
To that, I'm thinking, boy, they're that hard up for content.
No.
They want to dissect this goofy little show for 35 minutes. Go crazy. We appreciate it, but wow.
And really, we should send some pictures of where we work and what it looks like.
That'd be cool.
To Opie and Anthony. I guarantee you that.
Do that.
Do that. Building they're working in New York City.
I want to see
looks
that.
a lot different than this.
Yeah.
We're honestly one step away from an Orange Julius.
We're that close?
No, seriously. We're like one of those sketchy things in the food court.
Yeah.
Where you're like, okay,
they're in a mall.
Taiwan. What's that food?
Yeah.
It's some kind of meat on a stick operated by a couple of goobers. That's us.
Goobers.
Okay? We're like the mystery food served up by some swarthy people from a foreign land. I'm only laughing because, a few weeks ago there was that picture of the guy they found in the Middle East somewhere that hadn't taken a bath in 60 years, and his hair was all matted and his fingernails were overgrown. That's us.
Yeah.
That's who we are. Mm-hmm. They found us somewhere. Oh, those two guys have not bathed in 37 years.
Let's give them a hot meal.
What?
All right, now they're getting boring again.
Roadkill.
Yes.
I guarantee you, if Opie and Anthony saw this, they'd be like, seriously? This is what we got excited about?
They probably fall in love with us because they go, isn't that sweet? Look what those guys have done. Because like Opie and Anthony, I mean, if it wasn't for this, we were without work, and we had to figure out a way to survive. And we came up with this idea, and depending on your level of...
They do it themselves?
What your
I guess so.
perception of level of success is, we are thriving in this situation. But...
those... Do you see those pictures where they've rescued a dog, and at the beginning of the video or whatever, on the pet website, the dog's got he's just dead looking?
Yeah,
that's us. Mange, and then they bring him back to life. Donate now. You're absolutely right. They would probably want to adopt us.
I can't.
They would probably say, listen, you guys.
Can't say anything bad
I had
now.
no idea.
Oh, boy.
It was so pathetic.
Yeah.
How are they, though? The question is, how are they on the air? How do they do it up there where they can actually just do it themselves and be on the air?
I don't know. And then they
sell the show.
And then they're selling it.
Oh.
But Sirius picked it up. That's cool. So they're probably making about $100 a week from Sirius.
Yeah.
It's about to go on rate right now for a radio show, I believe. Oh, I ain't joking.
That's not even a knock on them.
I'm not joking. It's just what they're doing.
In fact, the more I think about it, the more I find that amusing. Because, honest to God, they're driven. I guarantee you, those two guys are driven to work every day in a limousine.
Nope.
And rightly so.
An Escalade. But I drive it.
Manhattan.
See?
We honestly, we're like three-legged dogs. We're eating roadkill, and we haven't had a bath in 70 years, and we're running a food court food outlet. Okay.
Food court.
And there you have it. Humble and Fred.
Are they in a food court?
Good for them. They're in a food court. If you could get the message to Humble and Fred there, I would like to see pictures of their operation there.
Well, just get them on the phone. Let's just talk to them.
Oh, boy. Once that happens, you know what we do.
South.
What?
No, we always,
kiss ass.
We wind up
becoming
friends.
I don't mind those guys. They're fun.
Humble and Fred over the compound to the pool. I could see it now.
That came from a good place. I think they enjoyed it a lot.
That was funny.
I think they enjoyed the attention, and I think
their assessment of the whole situation.
I think they laughed a lot in the last day or two.
Very funny.
Right. So
I'm sure, and I'm sure of this too. The vile, despicable stuff that he's talking about, they laugh at that too.
Right.
You can't help but it's so outrageously wrong.